Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's Amari here with another. I don't want to call it an episode, but another conversation. With a special guest, and we like to highlight, individuals who are pretty much, securing their future in their space. In either of the seven areas: mentally, physically, emotionally, socially, relationally, financially, and most importantly, spiritually. We like to, not only just highlight, but really get some knowledge and some information about, how they are going about how they're going about. So we got a special guest. So I guess the first thing we do is just introduce yourself, bro, and Mr. Steve, and tell the people what you do and how you bring value.
Oh my God, Amari, appreciate you. So, Steve Bayonne, father, well, husband, father, herbalist, investor, real estate developer, crypto enthusiast, crypto teacher, crypto educator, crypto Moses. That's what my students call me. I
Okay.
appreciate you, Amari.
Now, always. Now that's it's always good to hear from you, man. And we've been going back and forth, trying to get on a call. Very, I've been watching you, and you're very educated on the space, and you're very knowledgeable, and you have wisdom. And I like to have conversations with people who have more years than me. Just because of the wisdom part, and
Mhm.
you can learn a lot from people, I mean, younger and older, but I think when people have gone through what they've gone through is definitely a way to shine light on some of the things that, and the tools that we can use and or not use and stay away from in order to expedite our process, so it's always good, man.
Appreciate
It's
you having me.
always good. So I guess we'll start here, bro. The first thing I like to ask, or we like to ask people, is our guests, is if you can go back 10 years ago, right? If you can go back 10 years ago from today and really, tell yourself anything based off what you know now, like what would that be?
So, 10 years ago will put me right at the time I probably purchased my first crypto asset. So, I've been 10 years in the crypto game this year. So, what would I tell myself 10 years ago? Buy more XRP.
And
Yeah.
that's it. That's it. Just buy more XRP.
Well, from the crypto side, from a maturity level, I had two kids at the time. No, you might have to go back 20 years for me. Um,
Okay, we can go back 20 years.
yeah, so for 20 years, at the time I didn't have any children. So knowing what I know now, I would have definitely um, I would have prepared myself a little bit better financially to understand how the system worked. I think at the time we were really caught up in just we knew how to make money and we definitely knew how to spend money, but we didn't know how to really grow money or preserve it. So knowing what I know now, I definitely would have. And this is just from a financial standpoint, not just to the core of who I am. It's not just all about money. But yeah, 20 years ago, I would have definitely took a better interest in understanding the what money was. Yeah.
So you say this. Do you think that's still a problem now in today's society? Making money, spending money, but not preserving money and keeping money. What are some of the things that you would have done differently? I guess specifically that maybe people can take from what you're going to say in order to preserve money, because we were all young once, and I remember when I made the most money I made in a week,
Mhm.
um a day or a month, I didn't really do the best job of stewarding it. So what are some of the vehicles, some of the things that, you can maybe give people out there you would have done differently, like specifically to be able to do that?
It's tough because it's one of those things where byproduct of public school, right? There's no financial literacy. There's no basic courses in financial literacy in America, period. Right? If you're not going to school for finance. So a lot of it, most of it starts at home. Learn behavior, watching your parents, right? Most of us, I'm first generation Haitian American. So we're talking about going out, working for someone, waking up early, coming home, handling family business, and then doing the same thing over and over again, Monday through Friday. I
Right.
always had a gift when I was a child. Not only was I a hard worker, just from watching my father create that dynamic for us, but I also thought outside the box, and I knew that I didn't want to do what he did, which was hard labor, working with hands. Um, but we do have similar traits in the sense of always wanting to be of service to people. So I just came up in a different generation where we had a lot more opportunity. My wife likes to say most people just want to spend $1 million. they don't really want to make it.
Mm.
Right. So this is why it can, for what we did, it used to come in fast, and it went out just as fast too. So I would say a lot of this stuff starts in the home, because that's your first education in financial literacy, would be watching how your parents manage things, or listening to, we can't afford that. Right. So I heard a lot of that stuff. Um, if you want that, you need to go work for it. That was my first lessons in financial literacy. So that's exactly what I did. Paperboy, right? Delivered papers. Not only did I deliver papers for my own route, I took over a couple other routes, and I expanded on that, because at the time, when you're that young, they only gave you one paper route. So I was always finding a way to plus things up. I can even remember a story too. When we used to raise funds for school, and used to have to sell candy bars. So there was times where people, you sell it, they give you cash, and then you had to kind of, organize it and track it. And I received a check one day, and I didn't know what a check was. So when I looked at the numbers, I said, man, maybe if I add an extra number in front of it, it'd give me an advantage. So my mind was always working in that way. I didn't really have anybody looking over me, curating me, and walking me through the space. So I put I might have put 3 on there, not realizing that it needed to match the amount that was written. So just little lessons here and there. Um, so I always had a business acumen. Even my first year of college, I was the guy who, the clubs would close at 2 o'clock. I would buy poo-poo platters from the last Chinese restaurant that opens late, which were large platters. And then I would break the platters up. So when guys came home, what they wanted to eat. So I would resell plates at night. So I always constantly had a hustle, always had a hustle. So, and that was without guidance, right? At the time, we didn't have the images of, the Bill Gates, the Warren Buffetts, the Jamie Dimons. Now we have a lot of imaging, a lot of information. So, to go through that back then, just shows how much of a gift I had. And I've never took it for granted either, because I continued to ride. It's over 30 something years of entrepreneurship, like not working for someone.
So
Yeah.
so what do you say? Well, that's interesting you say that. What do you say about the person who, who doesn't have that example, or who does have an example? That everybody has an example, but who has an example of, the I can afford, or who may not have the perfect example, or who has an example of, the parents or the environment that is not conducive to being financially abundant and even being environmentally abundant. What do you say to that person? How can they go in? Like, do they read an audio book? Do they read book? Like, how do they, if you can't get, if you don't have the means, and if you're a young child, and if you're a teens and you're a young adult, and you don't necessarily have the means to go out and travel and go out and be in this mastermind or in this group, what is the next best thing?
I mean, listen, this is, some of the best companies were built from guys who didn't come from money. I'd say all of them. We didn't come from money. What my dad did take was, he took chances and risks, right? He came from Haiti to America with really nothing in his pocket. So same situation, just different day, figuring out ways to provide for self, and figuring out ways to provide for family. Now, if you have a big appetite for things, then that means you have to work harder or smarter, right? Because you're going to have a real expensive lifestyle. So I always liked nice things when I was younger. So that means Steve always kept the job. I mean, everything from McDonald's to security jobs. So I'm rooted in a strong work ethic as a young child. So I would say, you know, the work ethic will always give you a competitive edge over most people, right? The financial piece, I don't think there's today we have the access to the information, but I was coming from an era where we didn't have the access to that sort of information, right? It wasn't until I hit a few bumps in the road, through maturing through life and business, where I started to pick up self-help books. And then I ran into the Tony Robbins of the world and things like that. And then that's when things started to change for me a little bit, but still never picking up financial literacy books ever until I started to teach it, maybe 3-4 years ago. So a lot could be done without this stuff. And I feel like one of the key points is not being indoctrinated into a system. So I was never a guy that could sit in a circle all day in school, right? So I never listened well. And not saying that that's a good or a bad thing. It's just, I can see things differently and not be altered by somebody else's perception of something. So I question everything. And that's what always gave me opportunity, because I would do things that other people wouldn't do because they were told not to do it. So I took a lot of chances and a lot of risks.
Do you think the curiosity in getting better and the curiosity of trying to find your way, do you think that has impacted the way you maneuver in the crypto space, in the financial space, 20, 30 years later?
100%. That's what makes me a visionary today. I don't see things the way people see things. And because I don't always live now in the present, I'm always looking so far out, because I reverse engineer things in my head, right? Everybody kind of focuses on, yeah, it'd be a great business idea and stuff like that. And I look at the downside to everything first, right? And then I work my way back, and then I'm calculating the plan moving forward. So I play a different game when I'm looking at certain things. You might see a cup, I see something different. It could be a multitude of things that cup could be used for, but you may only
No,
use it to drink from it.
no, that's amazing. I mean, I agree with that. And like, even in my life,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna say I'm just the biggest visionary, but I do see things differently. I always see a lot of people ask me, why are you so positive, or why you see things for
Mm.
what they could be? And I'm like, I mean, what do you mean it's see? I mean, of course you want to measure, what it, the like, be cautionary about certain things, of course, about
Right.
everything really. But it's like, I mean, what is the best outcome? What if the like a lot of the time, especially our people,
Hmm.
and I'm not even saying a color, I'm saying a person who comes from not the most well off,
Yep.
right? Most of us, most people like that think of lack, right?
Mm.
Like the cup is half full or the cup is half empty. Which one are you? And I think once we get to see, what is the potential upside, what if the upside is 10 times more than what the downside is going to be? What if the upside can lead to you changing your life and, changing the trajectory of where you're going? And not only for you, but the legacy of your family.
Yeah.
And so I think that's good, man. I think everybody's a visionary, and you can vision yourself being great or you can vision yourself being not great. And it's all about the confidence you have in this. And you only build that through repetition over a period of time and preparing yourself for the things that come your way, which only come through life experiences, which only come through mentors, environments, that come through failures and lessons learned. So, I totally agree with that 100%. So,
Yeah.
Today, this episode is brought to you by Liquid Brokers, a licensed and regulated trading platform that opens up the foreign exchange markets for you to trade currencies and cryptocurrency. Let's dive in. First and foremost, Liquid Brokers is a platform that's licensed and regulated, which means you can trade with peace of mind. They offer a 1 to 500 leverage, giving you the opportunity to make the most of your trades. Plus, if you're outside of the US, you'll have access to the MT5 trading platform. But wait, there's more. Liquid Brokers also provide you with access to their in-house trading platform, Liquid Charts and Liquid Charts Pro. This allows you to trade on the go, making it easy to stay on top of your investments. Now, here's where it gets really exciting. You can actually refer the platform as an affiliate and earn cryptocurrency every day. That's right. You can use your earnings to build your crypto portfolio, your trading account, or for whatever you want in your everyday life. So, what are you waiting for? Head to the description and use the link to create your free Liquid Brokers account. Don't forget to follow and subscribe for more awesome content like this. Thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.
yeah, I would have went to Cornell, but I didn't want to do 10 hours of work,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
the connections, the Ivy League connections are different though. I tell you
Mhm.
that much. But same thing here. Like, I think the one thing that college is, if you use it for what it's supposed to be used for, I think college is the best place to network in any time of your life, right?
Mhm.
So you can go and do that for free. If you can go on a scholarship, if you can go play in sports, if you can get grants, financial, whatever that is, yes, use it, but use it as a tool to network with the people around you, because it's the only place where there's tens of thousands, sometimes even hundreds of thousands of kids that want to go, that are looking for their next thing. So they're more open, more as you get older, you're less open to things. You kind of have your family and your friends. But
Mhm.
by that time you create those relationships. So You know, I encourage people, especially athletes. You know, when you're in college, man, a college student wants to be around you. Like leverage that and use it and build these relationships with these
Yeah.
individuals. Those are the individuals whose dads work here, who may be the founder of this in the future, who may be the CEO of this in the future. And as long as you treat people right, you know, and give them a good experience while they're around you, they're always going to remember you and always want to. And if it's not doing business, but always want to, you know, if you have something, they'll listen. You know, they'll
Yeah.
give you at least that opportunity. So, but yeah, that's my take on college and in school. So
It
it's not
definitely
for
plays a role.
everybody, but if you're
Yeah.
gonna go, use it. Don't just be idle in it. Unless you're gonna be a doctor, lawyer, those things, of course, but that's different. So let's get into it. So you are from what I hear, from what I see, you are the crypto guru. You are somebody who is very knowledgeable in the space. As we're speaking right now, you know, Ripple is at an all-time high. As you can see, it's at an all-time high. I wish share my screen, but it's all good. You know, it's at an all-time high.
But let's
Just
verify that.
recently.
The all-time high was $3.86.
Oh, it was $3.86.
I remember that day. Yep.
Hold on, let me go look real quick.
We are not here just yet. But yeah.
Okay, let's
Yeah.
say all-time high for this cycle.
Oh, for sure. 100%. Yeah. For the cycle for sure. But we'll hit the all-time high. It'll be $4 by the time this airs. Put it that way.
Maybe, hopefully, if it is, then we're good. We might have to come back and do another episode. But there's a lot of coins out there that are going crazy. The meme coin circuit is going crazy right now for people who are in the meme coins. Bitcoin obviously has hit an all-time high. You know, Ethereum's on its way back. You know, Ripple is doing what it's doing. You know, I have a buddy of mine who's floating right now at a couple of 100,000. I think it's an M right now trading Ripple. So trading XRP. So there's a lot of things happening, right? So
Yep.
people want to know like your thoughts on crypto, like where's people start, like what is like we want to get into it. We want to get into the nuts and the bolts of cryptocurrencies. Just give it all to us, and I'm gonna do my best to ask the questions that I feel like we need to know.
All right, cool. So I come from the school of thought of gain the knowledge first in cryptocurrency, right?
Okay.
And that's always been the basis and the premise for Skyton Academy. This is a online platform, teaching platform that we started about 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago. And this was during the pandemic. I can remember myself. And again, I started investing in cryptocurrency in 2015. And then formally, I've been teaching the whole time. I mean, any friends and family, everybody who knows me is like, Steve's been on this. What drew me the most to cryptocurrency, I learned it through a peer friend of mine who got it from some financial guys that he used to do business with. And when he first introduced me to it, and I looked at the premise of it, I said, listen, if they can pull this off, it's going to change the way we do business, one. And two, it's going to offer financial access to everybody. Like I knew this. So I was already running businesses at a young age. This was before debt. This was before, you couldn't even go to banks for loans back in those days. When you were real estate, when you were an entrepreneur of color and young, you just bootstrap the shit. Come up with some bread, you do what you got to do to get the money. A couple friends might put a couple thousand in with you, and then you're off and start. So at the time I had, various businesses. I've been in retail space, specialty retail inside the malls, vending massage chairs. I mean, you named it. I've touched a lot in a multitude of things. So, over time I was just growing. So when I got into crypto, XRP was the first. It was two things you could invest in crypto. It was Bitcoin and XRP. It definitely wasn't any meme coins back in those days. So what you guys are seeing now is a totally different market than when I came up in. So I came into the market more of a disciplined investor, not so much someone who's just trying to chase money, right? And not what intrigued me the most about the technology was I was always somebody that was ahead of my time. So I finally found a technology that was ahead of its time. So that's what really drew me to it. I'm like, there's a bunch of X-Men out here. I'm not the only one that can see out into the future. These guys are actually building the future. So that was the first real introduction, and that was my first pull into crypto. So when I get into the educating space, the one thing we never did was we'll never tell you what it's not, right? So I noticed with the internet, it created a false sense of what cryptocurrency was, right? There was always a narrative that the media controlled. There was a narrative that people controlled. And I noticed that all the young kids just wanted to turn $1 to 20 million. They thought that was true. That wasn't. Most of these meme coins are already coded for you not to be able to pull the liquidity out. They won't know that because they've never transacted enough in crypto to know that not everybody's a millionaire in crypto the way that they make it seem.
100%.
The thing you have to understand is when one person is a millionaire, that means somebody lost $1 million too. There always has to be somebody on both sides, right? Not everybody's a winner in this market. And in order for you to purchase, somebody has to be selling. And in order for you to sell, someone has to be buying.
Can you get into really quick? Can you get into like the liquidity portion? Like, can you really dive into before you keep going? You know what liquidity is, what it means to be up a whole bunch of money, but maybe can't withdraw it. Like, what is liquidity?
All right. So listen, at the end of the day, guys, when let's just say a project has a market cap of $21 million, the one thing that you don't know, right, is where the money's at if you don't know how to read the blockchain correctly. So a lot of these meme coins that you invest in that can go from zero market cap all the way up to 50 million in seconds, you don't realize that all of this stuff is programmable money at the end of the day. It's not verifiable really unless you verify it. But most people never took the time out to really verify where the money's at and what wallet it's in. You understand? That's the great part about cryptocurrency. So when I sit with guys, even if I've taught people who are millionaires off of Dogecoin. They're just like, I figured it, whatever. And then they did whatever they needed to do. The thing too is you don't make money unless you sell, right? Because I can show you big wallets right now, but I'm up. It's profitable, but what am I doing with it? Right. So I've been watching crypto go up and down over time. So if I needed to liquidate right now, let's say if I had $14 million in my account right now and I wanted to go to Coinbase and liquidate it, there would have to be $14 million of transactions to pay me out. If they don't have it, then it sits idle. Right. So when you're inside of these things, you have to understand what coin is moderate, how much liquidity is on what exchange. Right. Some exchanges don't even have that much volume running through it to even cash you out. So there's aspects of this that people just don't really fully understand. So, liquidity would be, how much cash in the bank that is on hand to pay people out if they win or, collect when people are losing. Most times it's easy for the money to come in. What happens is they program it so the money doesn't come out.
Right.
That's considered the rug pull.
It's like a bank run, right? A bank in a sense. And when
it is a bank.
Yeah. And then if everybody withdraws at the same time, there's probably a likely chance, even the biggest banks, like even Chase Bank, if everybody goes and withdraws a certain amount of money at the same time, there would be chaos in the world.
They're insolvent. If you went to your bank right now and you asked for $5,000, I guarantee they won't give it to you. Or the first thing they'll tell you is, we don't have it. You need to call it in or order it, and we can have it for you in 2-3 days, depending on your bank. It's on hand, but that's just their normal stuff. Banks aren't required to have one-to-one at any point.
Explain that when you say they're not allowed to have one-to-one.
No, I mean, there's no requirement to say for every dollar that someone gives them, they're supposed to have $1 on hand. It's all no reserve banking, right? They really, it's supposed to be 10%, but they're barely doing that. This is why we're one bank run away from all banks being insolvent, meaning they don't have the money on hand.
All right, so let's get into this theory before we get back into the cryptos, because I want to know your thoughts on this. Do you think that it would be beneficial for the people of America to go and withdraw money all at the same time to have a bank run? What do you think about that? I've always thought about that, not in the sense of, because I know everybody won't get their money, but in the sense of, I wonder what will actually happen.
It wouldn't. The likelihood of it is damn near impossible. One, because we have real bills to pay, right? Car notes. We just live in a system now where we're not paying cash days. It could definitely possibly happen. Credit days with in this digital age. No, I don't think so. But if that was to happen, it would be, there'll be a triggering event this year that would create a massive bank run in the country. But the question is, are people smart enough? I don't think the overall arching, the largest subset of the community of the population of the United States would even know what to do if they had cash on hand and didn't rely on banks, right? The banks is the ultimate babysitter, right? We don't have to have autonomy over our own money. Most people don't even know how to manage their own money. Never mind, hold all of it.
And so
Yes, I don't think it would happen. It'd
if
be a
it did
great
happen,
day.
like
Well, we
if
have
it happened,
crypto.
what do you think would happen? Like if it did happen, if there was a bank run, if everybody somehow, some way say, I need 5,000 for my bank. Everybody, 10,000 for my bank, and we all went and we all called in, or we all went the thing to go withdraw. What do you think happened? Like, what do you think would happen?
The United States financial system collapses. The first world country turns into a third world country.
Like that?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, we're
So,
here now. We're on the precipice of that now.
so third world country in what sense of the word though? Third world country as in like not being able to function at all, or like third world country as in like going back to caveman time, sort of, kind of.
Combination of both. I mean, it's just a lot of violence, right? A lot of crime. Okay. There's a lot of safety in knowing that your money's digital. Right? Because if somebody robbed you and they took your debit card, now what?
Right.
Right. Even if they force you to put your PIN number in at the ATM machine, okay, you got a $500 limit, maybe 1,000. Now what? But if you take all your cash out and then you're on your way home, you're cooked.
100%.
It'd be a lot of violence if everybody knew that they were just cash carrying citizens all over the place.
No, 100%. All right,
Yeah.
and that's why you're here, because crypto. That's why crypto is important. So continue with your story, but I'm sorry to cut you off. That was some good information.
So yeah. So again, at the academy, we teach all things cryptocurrency. But the one thing, the one basis when I started with my partner Champ is I told him, I said, listen, we're going to stick to the fundamentals, right? I'm not. We played. Champ is also similar to me in investing style. We came in 2015. Same asset, similar mindset. And then we also played cowboy throughout, right? We did the liquidity. We played liquidity pools. We of course we dabble a little bit in meme coins. Uh, we borrow money in the DeFi market. So we've seen a lot of facets of crypto. We've been in the deep end. I mean, we've touched every aspect of it. We're not just investors who just buy from Coinbase and then kind of store it on cold storage and things like that. We actually utilize the functions of cryptocurrency. We have hardware in our vehicles. My phone is by a company called Helium Mobile. So I wanted to immerse myself to understand how these blockchains work, how the future is going to look. So what gives me the competitive edge over most people, and especially some of the younger guys, is my rich history in entrepreneurship. So I'm able to see a project and see the case use and then know how it's going to apply, not only based on how, because of the vision I have, I can see far out, but because of the work ethic I had back in the day. So when you start to look at projects, I can see a problem and I can see what it's solving and I can see how big of a problem it is because I see everything as if it's a business at the end of the day. So that's how I'm able to differentiate. Like I said, I always work forward. I start out and then I work my way back. So the same principles apply when I'm looking at cryptocurrency projects. So every student that came through our door, the first thing was cryptocurrency is like Chinese. This is every student. It's what everybody says. It's a language. And they're correct because financial literacy, right? That's the word, literacy. It's a language. You're supposed to be taught it. That's why
Right.
it's difficult for people to wrap their head around cryptocurrency because they don't even know what money is. And I didn't even realize that until maybe like year 3, where I was like, listen, we're fighting this double-headed monster. Like people kind of know it's important, but they're not really caring about it too much, especially 3 years ago during the pandemic. No, everybody just wanted what was hot, right? Those are the trends and how things follow. So it was what? Turo, it was Airbnb. Well, the first thing is it was getting your credit together and then taking out massive loans and then going into the trucking industry, Airbnb. So I'm looking at all these businesses and I'm like, I've been a business owner so long and I could read economy. So I'm like, they're going to have to give all this back. They don't even realize that because this is their first time going through entrepreneurship. The other thing I saw at that time too that was pivotal was, remember I told you when we needed to start a business, we started to bootstrap it, meaning we had our own money. So we had to really keep an eye on what we were doing. When you get $100,000 from a bank, you've never managed $100,000 before, right? So think about this. And this is true. If I gave you $10 million right now and you never had it before, your mind will only operate from the paradigm of what you ever were able to create or manage. So your 10,000 would go, I mean, your 10 million or whatever I gave you would dwindle all the way down to 1,000. You would just spend it because you wouldn't know what else to do with it. Same thing for when people scream for reparations. It's like, even if they gave us all the money, they said within 3 months, it will be right back into the hands of people who are responsible, who set up systems, who know how to manage, and who always have product for consumers.
100%.
Yeah. So
There's not even enough money for us to have reparations. I don't believe.
even if you gave it, it wouldn't even matter. It would go back to the people who are most responsible.
So
Producers
you're
will hold a majority of the wealth.
so you're saying pretty much that even in the crypto space, it's the same thing like real life space in terms of you need to know before you dive in, right? Before you maybe even invest a dollar, you need to be knowledgeable on the terminology, knowledgeable on the things that the foundational piece. So when you do dive in, there's less of a risk that you know it goes wrong, and there's more of a chance that you can win in this space.
Listen, at the end of the day, the same guy that gave you the information for you to purchase it, right, based on what his or her thoughts were, is the same person that could turn around and say, oh, it's not that good anymore. So now you
Mm,
find yourself powerless because you never had the knowledge in the first place,
right.
right? Everyone's buying Bitcoin. Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. It's a psyop. You are being conditioned to believe this, right? So you get guys like Michael Saylor who are like, he's on the wave, like Bitcoin, yeah, mortgage your whole house, buy a Bitcoin. And I'm like, all right, I see it. It'll work. If you tell enough people to do something, they will do it.
Hold
And
on.
that's
So
that's
so let's get into it. So you just said that Bitcoin is a psyop, right?
yeah.
And you just saying that, and Michael
You know what
Saylor is one of
BTC stands for?
what is
BTC,
BTC?
beta test coin.
Mm,
It's a beta test coin. I'm not saying it has no value, but what does it do? It's for store value. It's where you take money out of it. And the rise of Bitcoin is because of where we're at financially in this country, right? Hyperinflation, the dollar is dwindling. When you start to understand the history of money, you start to realize that currency only really lasts 100 years, and then you got to change it. We're just at the expiration point right now, and then you see a rise of new technology. Do you know who started Bitcoin?
According to the sources out there in the crypto and financial world and the general knowledge, people think that it was started by a person that is called Satoshi Namanoko or something like that. And
Yeah.
so Bitcoin. So people don't know. They say Bitcoin could be started by a person. It could be started by a government, a place, a thing. Nerd traders, nerd designers. Who knows? So nobody really knows, but we don't
Right.
know.
So check it. So what we do know is you have Vanguard, BlackRock, Larry Finks and these guys. We know that they have ETFs and they have things, basket of institutional products wrapped around this Bitcoin, right?
Correct.
The other thing that we do know about these guys is they're the most conservative money managers in the world. And let me ask you a question. Would you invest in something that you didn't know who the owner was? Clearly, we're doing it now, right? With Bitcoin, some people.
So the
But
answer is so what I invest in is something that I didn't have. If the brand was big enough, maybe, but most big brands have a face behind it.
so if tomorrow Putin said he was the owner of Bitcoin, what do you think the price would be?
If Putin said he was the owner of Bitcoin,
Yeah,
it may go down.
it will go down, right? Because you would lose the trust would be
Right.
lost. Right.
Right.
And it'd be for anybody. It could be Young Jung Yoon. It could be Donald Trump. If there's ever a face that shows up for this beta test coin, that would be the day that price would plummet to never see it again. Right. So
So
it's a beautiful story.
so you say beta test coin. So BTC, in your opinion, doesn't stand for Bitcoin. It's not
Well,
abbreviated.
of course it does. But I'm just telling you what the acronym, like beta
Okay,
test.
beta makes
Yeah,
sense. It makes sense.
that's just what we say on the Academy side.
Right.
I'm not taking anything away from Bitcoin. I'm just telling you that you look at the technology behind Bitcoin, right? And it's NSA, it's government grade technology. That's it. And then it's put out there, and then now we're effectively buying into it, right? So Bitcoin is the Q-tip of cotton swab now. Most people think cryptocurrency is Bitcoin. We could agree on that.
Yeah. If
My
you
mother
don't know,
says it all the
people
time. But
think that
I'm just saying most common people, not guys like us.
Yeah, 100%. The general prop, yes.
Right. So you're being trained and conditioned, right? So the first asset that most people invest in would be what? Bitcoin.
Right, Bitcoin. It's the easiest asset to invest in also.
Easiest one. It's the one that you hear about. It's the one that's the most trusted, right? People trust it. And then the price is just you can't deny it. You know, it started off at 0.006 of a penny to where we're at today, with more room to go, right? They can take it wherever they want to go. But again, digital gold is what I call Bitcoin. It's a place you go to store value. It's not a place you're going to go and swipe your, do a transfer to buy a pack of gum or anything like that. You want to take your money out of the banking system that's declining, right? Because if you kept your money in the banking system, you'll be losing, whatever percentage you're getting on your money is not paying enough, based on how quickly this economy is declining. The dollar has zero, like no purchasing power the way it used to. And then when you start to really study the history of money, and then you start to see movements of what's happening right now with BRICS Nation and BRICS Plus, countries taking back their own sovereignty now to then now start to build back their economies. This is when you start to see the United States, kind of the bonds aren't really worth with the squeeze. People are onto it now. It's crippling the world. And this is the rise of cryptocurrency. So it's a perfect storm. We saw this coming. We saw this coming. Everyone saw it coming.
So now, based off of all the things that you just said about, Bitcoin being a beta test coin, Bitcoin being something that is an asset that, it's like digital gold, where you don't want to really transact through it. But if, you want to get your money out of the banking system, you want to, buy and hold Bitcoin. You also said that, it is an NSA coin, right? They particularly own it. I would like to know more about that, how you came to that conclusion as well. But, based off what you just said, would it not be advantageous maybe to also say that maybe you should save your money in Bitcoin, if I'm not mistaken? But then also, based off what you said, how would you maneuver around the crypto space? What other assets, coins, which should people maybe invest in that they may not be looking at, that's not on their radar, that's not the most popular, that they can get benefit from?
So the thing with Bitcoin is once you put your money in there, you're not learning anything from Bitcoin, right? What's their roadmap? What's next for Bitcoin? There's a few little things here and there. When you look at cryptocurrency as a broader market, you start to see how the car buying market is going to go. You start to see how the new mortgage system is going to be set up. You start to see how the new communication system is going to be set up. You start to see how the new banking system is going to be set up, how the new voting system. You see where I'm going with this? How society is going to change. So when I invested, I would tell anybody, invest time in understanding how those systems are going to change and what blockchain is going to be the one behind those changes. All right. The one thing I tell everybody is you're going to be involved in cryptocurrency whether or not you want to be. Because there was a time, you remember, I don't know how old you were, when cash became debit or when money became digital, right? There was an uproar then. People were like, oh man, I'm never using that card. They're going to track me and do X, Y, Z. And it's like, all right, where are we at today with that? You acquiesce to whatever society is doing in the moment. Who's walking around with a bunch of cash now? You will look crazy. Now we could fly across the country with a small device in our hands that can have tens of millions of dollars on it. Right? You don't have to register. You don't have to claim it. You go through the airport with $10,000 in cash and see what happens. Or even a small wad of cash and see what happens. You understand? So that's just where we're at right now. So I tell people there's one thing that you should do in cryptocurrency before you even invest in Bitcoin. You start to invest in the infrastructure of cryptocurrency. So I like to ask this question. If you had unlimited money, I think I did this with you before, you having a real estate background with your family and stuff. If you had unlimited amount of money and you can do anything in real estate, what would it be? And most people are building casinos and this and this and this, and they're seeing structure. And I tell them, no, you invest in infrastructure, because before you could put a casino up, you need to own the land first. When you own land, you not only own the land, but you own the mineral rights, and then you have the air rights. That's the value. So the same thing in cryptocurrency, the same thing in emerging technology. You always want to invest in the infrastructure, the backbone of the technology. and then everything gets stacked on top of it. So once I understood that part of it, I looked at the rails that are being built out. I understood what blockchain was. And then when I started to look at the projects that were being built on top of it, then I saw the new economy. And that's how I'm able to be a lot more profitable than anyone who would sit in one coin, because I have probably 60 coins that I know right now are going to be part of the future. I have to keep a close eye on it, right? Like anything, but I know that whatever sector they're in, whether it be supply chain management. So there's a company called Vechain, right? VET, super cheap right now. People won't pay attention to it because it's cheap. So the owner of Vechain used to be the chief information officer at Louis Vuitton. He's a Chinese guy. Louis Vuitton, if you know, luxury, the biggest issue with luxury is what? Counterfeit, right? So what this guy did is he left Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton, they're one of his backers too. He left Louis Vuitton, started this tech company called Vechain. VET is the ticker. And what he wanted to do was they wanted to minimize or track supply chain, right? So now when you put technology inside of handbags or any item, your glasses, your shirt, anything, it gives people information. Is the bag real? Are the sneakers real, right? Is the bottle of wine real? They're working with everything. So you can validate, you could authenticate an item through VeChain. Not only that, you can know when it was made, how many owners it had, okay? VeChain also has a partnership with BMW. So every car in the future, if you ever even change a doorknob, it could tell you how fast the car was driven, how much rain fell on the car, how much snow. If a part is taken out, it can tell you immediately. So now no need for Carfax reports. So when you start getting knowledge into technology like that, I'm like, that's way more valuable than Bitcoin. Bitcoin is way more valuable because people say it's more valuable. But if no one buys Bitcoin, it's not worth 100,000, right? But if everybody starts to use VeChain, what happens? The liquidity pours into it. It's a part of our life. I want to scan something to make sure that it's authentic. So when I start to look at the market share and the partnerships they have with Walmart China and how fast they could find products in stores. So right now, if you had a food recall and you just bought some romaine from your local grocery store, how would you know that that romaine was bad before you ate it?
You wouldn't, unless you wouldn't really.
Unless you caught the news on the right time or something came up on your timeline or something like that, you wouldn't. Most people just get sick, right?
Right.
Now with VeChain, or there's some other companies in the world too, the minute you make your purchase, once it's on the blockchain, instantly, once they find a problem, they're able to isolate it and instantly hit everybody and say, hey, listen, throw that out, right? The system's connected now. And then now you know that romaine you just bought, you got a message, oh, throw it out. And then guess what? It's refunded right back to you. No questions asked. That's the power of cryptocurrency and blockchain technology that no one's talking about. How valuable do you think VeChain should be worth 2 pennies right now or even 3 pennies? Based on what I just told you right now, with those major partnerships, do you think they should be worth 3 cents?
No, VeChain, if that's the case, VeChain should be worth hundreds, if not thousands of dollars.
Exactly. And it will be in the future. You know when it will be in the future? Once the corporations get involved in it, and then the consumers are trained in the behavior of the product.
Like we are for Bitcoin and
Exactly.
Bitcoin.
Exactly. But the only difference is VeChain technology would do more for you than Bitcoin, right? Because now when you go buy a car, you don't have to go to a Carfax report to know if it's been in an accident. All you do is scan the car with your phone. And it's going to say, oh, no, damage was here. That panel was removed. That's not original paint. This is how many parts, right? All the records are going to be verifiable on a blockchain for you as a consumer to make an informed decision. That's cryptocurrency.
Wouldn't you have to use, let's say VeChain for an example, right?
Mhm.
VeChain, wouldn't you have to use VeChain in order to be able to get the utility from it?
That's the part that people aren't seeing in the future. So right now, California has 142 car titles on a blockchain called Avalanche, right? So if you ever purchased a car before, you know that how long does it take you to get a title once you pay off your car? It could take weeks to come
Yeah.
in, or once you get your car. So whether it has a lien on it or not, that's your business. It can take
Right.
weeks to come in. And then there's also car title fraud and things like that. So California already moved 142 million car titles on the Avalanche blockchain. Now, in order to transact in it, the money has to flow through the blockchain. And that's what's going to create the liquidity and the price action in that particular project that's solving a problem. How many other dealerships, DMVs do you think are going to move their car titles when they realize how, one, it takes California average, they said 3 weeks. Now, you know how long it takes? 30 seconds. So that means you don't need people to work. You don't need to push paper. You don't need to print or mail things. So you're saving money now. That means the DMV could become what? More profitable. You understand? When you save time, in essence, you do what?
You save
You have money
money.
back. You save money.
So why isn't this already implicated in the world right now at a high level rate? Is what is the world, the government waiting on? What is VeChain waiting on? What do you think the people are waiting on? Why this delay? Not delay, but why so much time in between
No,
implementations?
it takes it. Innovation always takes time, right? So you got to understand, first in, first out. In the 90s, right? The internet was before now, the biggest technological revolution was the internet. Is Yahoo the biggest search engine today? They were back then. Yahoo was buying up everything tech. You understand? That's why you had a tech a boom, and then you had a bust. Crypto's going to go through the same thing. AI is going to go through the same thing. There's always some early adopters, early guys with great ideas. That's how Mark Cuban made his money early. He had a product called broadcast.com. Mark Cuban wanted to stream sports through the internet. It was just too early, right? Consumers didn't catch up to it. Why? Because we didn't have internet at home. No one had really personal computers, and there was no cell phones back then. But now that we have all of those technologies in place, blockchain is just sitting, it's another layer sitting on top of the internet. So it's not that it's not moving fast enough. It's just the regulations in America are stifling innovation in America. Because you can go to other countries and they're already transacting in XRP.
Yeah,
You can
like I don't get that. But like why? Like when I go to China, bro, when I go to China, or I haven't been in a while, 15 years, but when I see China and I see Shanghai, like I was watching a video on how Shanghai uses, for example, they take all the pollution in Shanghai. I think it's Shanghai. Um, and they take it and that's how they build like their roads, that's how they build like their structures by recycle. They use those things. Like they have in Singapore, 91% of the people in Singapore, um 91%. I just made a post of the day. It was saying how like 91% of the people in Singapore uh like walk more than they run.
Mm,
It says that also they enhance their life expectancy by 20 years. Also it says that um most people walk an average of 7,500 steps per day. Why? Because 91% of people walk. Why do they do that? Because they make cars more expensive to get, so they emphasize health. No cars, you have to walk places, right? You have to have an average of like $100,000 plus the taxes or whatever it is in order to even own a car. But what that does is that also helps their tri-rail system. They can build now more efficient and more sustainable and more eco-friendly transportation, like train rails, not subways, but like train rails and things of that nature that create more efficiency. When I look at countries like that, countries like Dubai that's doing all of these things, the homelessness is not there. Like, how are these places able to, if America says we're the greatest country in the world, how are they able to expedite this process? Like is capitalism that important? Like, what is going on?
you said it. It's just capitalism. You know, there's immense opportunity in America. America is just a big marketing machine, right? You know what America's biggest export is? Media and propaganda, right? So you're of Spanish descent. Your family in whatever country you come from, and especially Haiti, has this picturesque image of America, right? There's no opportunity in a lot of these countries. And the reason that there's no opportunity in a lot of these countries is because of America, most times. So what you do is then you draw the best people from all over the world. America has never invested in the nation, the people, or we would operate like if we were in a blue zone, meaning you walk more. But it's like, no, it's all about money. So yeah, let the cars go, make it affordable, give them loans and debt, right? And that's the cycle and the trajectory of just America. That's the culture of America. If you're not paying for a product, you are the product. I tell people when you start to understand the business of America, you can stop being the product of America. We're just a product of America. That's it. It's not personal. You just have to figure out how to navigate as if you're a business, because they don't care about you. They'll overwork you. There's no retirement plan, right? And then you'll just get put in this debt cycle that will just keep you working forever. That's the business of America. It's not personal. It's just it's a money making machine that doesn't care about health at all. I'll give you a key example. Gentleman who started Apple. Where's he at today? He's not with us, right? He died of health issues.
Cancer.
All the money in the world. Welcome to America.
Yeah, man. When I look at things like that, I'm just like, we're in a society, and when you look at like things like the Bible, right? The Bible talks about like in the beginning, people lived to like 700 years, 500 years, 100 years. And I think also that's because there was less pollution back then. There was less like capitalism back then. There was less people on the earth, so there were less things being made. And it's like, well, we have all the ability and resources to become a sufficient society in every society, if possible, right? If we wanted to, but I guess that's just the fall of man. But how would cryptocurrency maybe help solve? I know you talked about Vechain, I know you talked about Avalanche. How would cryptocurrency in a whole, help us get to a level, or help the individual, get to a point where they can see a more eco-friendly society, especially in America?
Yeah, I think just the technology behind blockchain is the safety, immutable, meaning things can't be changed. I think some of the biggest issues is just American culture is people just cheat. That it's by any means necessary. They'll tell you that these ingredients in this product is healthy because they paid someone to repeat that for them, and the person they paid is someone who we deem as an authority figure in it. So, oh, my doctor said, but you didn't realize that your doctor was also trained by the guy who created the medicine. You see where I'm going with it? So again, back to capitalism again, because the doctor has to make a living. And then again, the doctor only spends 1 hour of nutrition in 3 years to get his degree. So he doesn't know anything about this food. He's just going to regurgitate what they taught him, and how he was, going back to the early days of me not being a good listener, indoctrinated into a system. You're just being lied to at this point, and you're not realizing it. And there's a lot of people waking up now, right? We are entering the information age, so you're starting to see a tilt in it. But I think right now, when you get into like even blockchain, there's a sector called DeSci. Anytime you hear the word DE in front of something, it's short for decentralized. So you have DeFi, decentralized finance. So DeSci is decentralized science. This is something that everybody wants to push. That's going to be a big narrative in crypto. That's where a lot of my money is right now.
Before you get into the D side, can you explain to people what decentralized means, so they can get an understanding before we go into the D side?
So we have there's two ways that you can set up a system right now. You can set one up where it's centralized, meaning there's a central authority, there's an owner, right? So when you look at Google, that company is a centralized authority, right? It has a hierarchy, there's a CEO, there's board members. That's how the structure of the business flows. It's for profit, and whatever those guys say, that's what happens. And we as consumers, we just have to deal with it, right? And then you have this new rise of the opposite of that would be a decentralized structure, meaning there's no authority, there's no head of the table, there's no one making decisions. It's ran and governed by people, right? So I'm part of projects, and we have to vote on something. So when something needs to come out, yes, there are authorities who are putting out the information. So I would say, hey, Amari, I think we're going to change the logo, maybe red or blue, and then whoever's part of the community, you get to vote on it as being a token holder. So now you move from, I tell people within the next 10 years, you're not going to have board members anymore. The days of like rich oil guys sitting on a board who never use the product and all they care about is profit. This is what's been driving America into the ground. These guys are making decisions based on money. Once you do that, you'll never have a great product, because they'll always figure out a way to shortchange, and it always falls on us as consumers. So that's the DeFi. I mean, that's the decentralized side of crypto that I love. Right. But when you start to see these guys coming in who are part of the old regime, attaching ETFs and all that to it, what are they telling you right now? Invest in Bitcoin through us, right? Because we're the authority figure. We're the guys that run the financial system. You young guys, you don't care about that because you don't even know who Larry Fink is at the end of the day. You don't care about, whatever, but the baby boomers who hold majority of the wealth in this country right now, that's where all the wealth is at. So they're going to go with the old guard. Now, the problem is they're like, wow, there's a bunch of young kids now. Once these baby boomers die, you no longer can sell these guys on 401ks. So how can we control this decentralized market and make, because once you have a country of free thinkers and people that can have autonomy over their own money, their own health, what does that leave the power structure? In the hands of who? Government or people? Most people want to be led, though. No one,
Right.
listen, it's not easy waking up and plugging in your cold storage wallet. And, it's a lot of parts to running your own bank. It's a lot of studying time to figure out like what food to put in your body, right? Things that make sense for you. You understand? It's a lot to say, I'm not going to the doctor. I'm going to have a private physician or I'm going to order my own private blood test. But when, the structure of America is you just go to work. By the time you come home on the weekends, which is what traditionally people do, is you think they have time to do anything else after work?
No, it's like an ending. It's like an ending cycle. It's like a cycle, a
Exactly.
system. It's like, but that's what it'll always. How do you get around that?
I'm prepared to leave the country.
Okay, so explain before you get into that. We got to go back to the decentralized D side because I know about DeFi, right? Decentralized
Yep.
finance.
Finance. Yep.
But, maybe if you can go over both of them, but you highlighted decentralized science D
Right.
side. What you got to explain that to
So
me, and I would
first,
maybe some things that we can maybe look at, some projects that you may be interested in and whatnot.
So decentralized financing first, right? Because that's one of the first sectors that people in crypto tend to hear about.
Right.
So that's when you have less restrictions on finance. So I'm able to go, let's say, to a platform like Aave. If I have a $10 million portfolio, I can drop $10 million with them and they'll give me a $5 million loan. And they'll lock up the rest of my crypto. You understand? So for as long as that loan or that amount of Aave doesn't drop, I'm safe. I can do whatever I want with the money. And if I pay the money back, my tokens or coins are unlocked and then the money's given back to me. You can do all of that without one, giving your name or social security number, right? The name of the game is just assets. So now cryptocurrency, when you own assets, it doesn't care if you're black, white, Hispanic. It doesn't matter. It just cares about the asset that you own. It's not a social security system, where, your credit score and this and your ability to pay back. It doesn't care because you, in exchange, you collateralized something, right? Isn't that how the world should work? When you have centralized systems, they do things like that, where it's like, you know what? I don't want that guy to own that house. This happens, right? They can determine the value of your home just based on your race if they wanted to. That happens. In decentralized worlds, that can't happen because it's done openly through a system that is calculating things where everybody can see it and it's fair and honest. So that's decentralized financing. We're able to get loans in cryptocurrency right now without the need to put up our social security number or anything at the end of the day.
100%.
100% based on terms.
I use a platform. So one of the platforms, to shout them out. I don't think you can even use it with you in the U.S. anymore. But I use a platform. Yeah, you know it. I use a platform called Nexo. Previously to borrow money. It was dope when I was doing this. Was maybe like 3 years ago, 4 years ago when I was using them.
They're terrible, but they're caught up in a lot of scandals too.
Yeah, very. They got they had to pay a fine. They had to pay a fine not too long ago. I think under a year ago. But they still operate, but they just can't operate in the U.S. Like
I've lost 6 figures with Nexo, and my partner Champ lost 100,000 XRP with Nexo. Liquidated.
Wait, hold on. You've lost 6. See, this is how you know people have skin in the game. When you lose money, you get skin in the game. So how did that happen? Can you explain that?
All right. So I used Nexo a few times. The first time I used Nexo, I leveraged my crypto because I didn't want to sell crypto. That's the thing, guys. When you sell crypto, you'll never get in at those prices again.
Right.
You understand? So Nexo was a company that was set up. It was a DeFi company, and you were able to send your cryptocurrency over there, and they were giving you 50% loan to value. All right. So at the time, I sent them over. I had Ethereum at the time, a lot of it, and then I borrowed against the Ethereum. I did a real estate transaction, got my money back, finished it, paid off my loan, took the Ethereum back. They unlocked it. I was done with Nexo. The second time I went in with Nexo, I said, you know what? Let me buy crypto with the money. The problem is when I bought crypto with the money, the crypto market turned on me and everything started to decline. So now, once the number starts to drop below 50%, Nexo is going to start to take whatever was collateralized. They're going to start to take it from you unless you pay off the entire loan. But
Right.
remember, the loan money I used was inside of crypto. It was declining. So my partner Champ at the time, we weren't doing it at the same time. He was doing his own thing. We didn't know each other then. Same thing happened to him at the time. He caught it when the market was declining. So he ended up getting his $100,000 liquidated. I didn't get, I let my ETH get liquidated because I leveraged XRP too. So I said, you know what? Let me pay off my loan, parts of it, just so I can get the XRP off.
Right.
So that's what I did with Nexo. So this is where you have to be careful. What you do with the money really matters, because if the market turns on you in a DeFi world, if the market turns on you in any world, right? If you borrow money and the project didn't go right, you're on the hook for it.
Right, 100%. And it's
Yeah.
like, you want to buy. I tell people this, even tell myself this: when you're borrowing money against your crypto, you want to
Mhm.
try to borrow at a bottomed out market. Like, when the market is not already at the high, because there's a better chance that if you borrow money at the lower cycles, then the market will run up, and then you'll be able to pay off whatever you borrow, but then you'll even make more money, and you can use the money that you were in profit in order to pay off that. So,
Yeah, there's a whole arbitrage world with that. Sam Bankman, these guys were good at that stuff like that.
right,
Their stuff was automated market makers. So that's the DeFi world. There's benefits and downsides to everything. Any financial instrument, there's always risk.
what somebody who wants to borrow, can you explain the situation, like a real life situation, before we get into the D side?
Yep.
The a situation, like a real life, not a real life, because it's all real life. A traditional situation that you can borrow cryptocurrency. Like, what is equivalent to that? Is that like when you borrow money from like life insurance, or like borrow money from a bank? Is
Yeah, I
like
mean, borrow money from a bank, right? But the only thing is, it's collateral at the end of the day, right? These exchanges are set up to say, all right, well, they're not just going to give you $20,000 if you're not going to give them anything in return. So remember, I told you that the number in the DeFi world is 50% loan to value. So no matter what project you have, if they carry the project, they'll take that from you and you'll get the loan. All of it is done through smart contract. So there's no paperwork. I mean, that loan, when I got the money, I got it in seconds. The minute the money hits, you just borrow against the asset that's in there, and then everything else is locked. So the real life situation was the first time, like I said, I had a real estate transaction. I'm a real estate investor. So instead of going to the traditional means for hard money, I said, listen, I got it in crypto. Let me just pull my own money out of crypto. But I was able to do that project in a few months, able to get the money back, and I was able to pay that off. The second time it was tough because all that money was tied up in the crypto market. So this is why I tell people, like, be very careful. You have to, no matter what loan you take out, you have to be careful what industry you're going into with the money. I was in an industry that was uncontrollable. Crypto's, it's always never really sideways like that. It's always up and down. The
100%,
entire market shifted at the time.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
So let's get into the D side. Let's talk about it.
These sides a big narrative. So, especially with the Trump administration coming in, you're starting to see the attack on the FDA, the attack on pharmaceutical. Since the
Right.
pandemic,
They being red dye.
I have a thing for that too, but if you want to
I want to know, what's your thing on red dye?
All right, so we knew this already, right? So I'm a rabbit hole guy sometimes. The pharmaceutical industry, since the pandemic, has lost, and the medical industry too, and government people have lost trust, right? When people lose trust in a system, people look for alternatives, right? And this is why you see the rise of holistic medicine and just people changing, lifestyle changes. This is where we're at in society. Every single pharmaceutical company, the pharmaceutical industry owns the medical industry, right? This is how people are able to, this is how medical school is funded. That's the first problem in this country, right? Why would someone who's creating medicine fund someone who's supposed to prevent. It doesn't work in the same space. The Food and Drug Administration shouldn't be the same agency, right? So just like Bitcoin, the reason why you can't, in some of these cases, they say that you can't have an all-out attack on it is because when these nodes are formed, you would need every single node to be on the same accord to say, you know what, we're gonna create the biggest heist ever known to man. When you have central authorities, all you have to do is buy off one person, right? So if I paid you enough money, Amari, I could make you push any project I want you to push, possibly, depending on how much it is, right? So if I told you, listen, you have a great community right here of 1 million people, but I want you to make them buy this meme coin. I'm going to give you $10 million. Even if I didn't tell you it was a rug pull, $10 million. Would you push it to your community? And let's just use a different name. I don't want to put you on a spot like that, but how many people you think would take that money?
Yeah, if it made, yeah, I mean, if I felt like it wasn't that harmful, if I didn't know it, yeah, I mean,
Right.
If it helps people, yeah, I mean, who wouldn't?
Right. But if you understand the premise of cryptocurrency, none of them really have true case use. So when money's coming in, how's money being made?
Right.
Right. A win for one is not a win for all. So when I pull my money out in time, and that's what they do on the rug pulls, there's no more liquidity left. And that's why there's no more money left.
Right.
We keep chasing this. This is nothing. It's nothing more than digital lottery at the end of the day. It's that dollar in a dream. This is why DraftKings and online betting is the new stock market now. We're headed to dangerous times right now.
Bro,
Big
people
time.
they say like millennials and younger are putting more money in betting than they are in like the stock market.
Scary.
Like the first time ever.
Yeah. This is where we're at right now. And if you don't think that these games are rigged against that price action that comes in, you're bugging. You're an athlete. You don't think that refs could control games?
Do I think?
We know that.
That Tim Donaghy story was real.
Right. Not only that, but I've watched the other day, my son played a game and I watched the ref call 8 travel calls on him. And at the end of the game, guess who he takes home? His son that plays on the other team.
There's no way that happened.
I promise you that. Listen, I'm not one of those parents that get in refs' faces or anything like that, but I had to call it out because it was so obvious.
That's crazy.
It was so obvious. The guy's son played on the team. I'm like, okay. And these are children. I'm like, God, this is kids. You should be ashamed of yourself. You know exactly what you did. And that was even before I knew that he even had a kid that played on the team. I'm like, it's obvious this guy is doing something that's not right.
And now imagine what it's like when there's money on the line, big money on the line, right?
Same thing happens in the crypto market. When there's price action against a price of something in a futures market going up or down, those exchanges are going to get together. They're going to liquidate the action. They're going to allow whales to come in to say, you know what? Short that thing real quick. This is why you see billions of dollars being shorted every day in those markets. You think they'll allow everybody can't win. So we're really playing against the exchanges at the end of the day. So when I tell you to invest in knowledge, this is the knowledge that I have because it's an unregulated space. I know this is happening. It would only make sense for you as an exchange to bet against where all the action is at, right or wrong. Because they buy OTC, you buy using Coinbase. They're buying over the counter. They have a different way of putting money in the market, right? You can't put $10 million in Coinbase right now and do anything. You understand? So with so much time in market, I've seen so much. So when I say certain things, people just don't believe me. I'm like, this is because you haven't played in crypto the way I have.
Right.
I'm here trying to liberate you. But if you want to think that that's possible, and I'm not saying I don't know people who have hit on meme coins before, but you know how many times I saw $10 million in my wallet and I couldn't take the liquidity out?
100%. Or you can only take a little bit of it out?
Nothing. It just is what it is. And who you going to call?
Not Maroney.
You can't call anybody when that happens. You're cooked. So with decentralized science, one of the biggest issues right now is we cannot verify anything that science is saying or doing. Right? All their documentation is not put openly for us to see it. It's an old antiquated system, and this is why we have lack of information. Right? Leads to poor decision making when in times of whatever. So if they told us during COVID that the shot can do this, and this, along with probably saving your life, would more people have taken the shot or not? Probably not, right? Then that means that those companies probably wouldn't have been as profitable. But what did they say to you initially? They said, you won't get it, you won't pass it, and you won't die from it. Okay. So now what we have now is we have this rise in adolescent cancers, adolescent obesity, adolescent diabetes, and all types of stuff happening in adolescence. And now all of a sudden they come out and say, oh, red dye is causing cancer.
Right.
Now all of a sudden they're like, oh, we need to put Surgeon General warnings on alcohol because alcohol causes cancer. That's not the case. They've been knew that. What they're doing is they're mixing everything in to mask the greatest crime against humanity. And it was at those shots where cancer causes shots.
And that's what you believe. You believe that those shots were cancer causing shots.
In my heart. We all have these diseases in us. It just takes something to kind of bring it out. But
right.
the rate of cancer and how fast it's going, and this is stats now. So when you start to put those stats on the blockchain, decentralized science, you get to see it. Right. So when they tell you to trust the science, what science are you looking at?
Right.
You can't see it to validate it.
Right. You trusting somebody.
Huh?
You're trusting somebody who's in a position of power, who's an authority figure. You're probably going to listen. The masses are going to listen to somebody who is an authority figure, who is in a position of power.
Right. Because they told you that if this guy went to medical school, or this guy's a scientist, he's the guy that you should be listening to. And the reason that you do that is because you don't have time to really manage your money, manage your health, manage your time. Right. Everything we're being told to do everything. As an entrepreneur, you probably you went to the gym at 2:00 today or 1:00. I was at the gym at 9 when you called me this morning. So we tend to have the flexibility. Right. I don't think you had to be in office this morning.
Right.
Right. And then you told me you were 15 minutes behind. And what did I say? No problem. I don't have anything else on the schedule.
Right.
Imagine the whole world had that sort of autonomy over themselves. Would you fall for things so easily?
No, 100% not, because you have now the time to, and you have the awareness and the time to not worry about these other things.
Right.
And focus on you. And
right. So you have more self-awareness. I can tell.
Right. 100%. Even with the vaccine stuff, not to say that the vaccine worked or not, because, for those who did, it did. For those who didn't, it didn't. But, I was not a fan of taking a vaccine. I was 17-0 when it came to, from what I know, having COVID, just taking a test, I've traveled all over the place during COVID. I had to take the test and whatnot, but still, I never believed in vaccines. And for me, it makes it, honestly, when you look at it, like, the math wasn't mathing, because at the end of the day, when you look at, and I could be totally, this is my opinion. Is when the math wasn't mathing, it's like CEOs are leaving companies. 3 companies are making all of this money off of a vaccine. You can kind of, there were things happening in the world prior. As it was happening, you then go back and you say, oh, this person said this person said that, they did this thing, they did that thing. And now when you fast forward and you look at it, it's like, number one, when I in time, when people were getting the COVID vaccine, it seemed as if the people that were getting the sickest, the fastest, and dying were the people who already had like disease, like pre-existing things, like diabetes, overweight, high blood pressure, sugar, like all those type of things. And it felt as if, like, if you were already not healthy, it was just expediting the process of what was going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
And I felt like if you were, healthier from a general sense, not overweight, not obese, ate a decent meal and kept yourself straight, it's like you were fine. Oh, I gotta turn that off. That's all good. I figured, gotta call in the middle of the episode, y'all. That's the first, but it's all good. But and when you think about that, it's just like, it doesn't make sense. It's like, well, it's expediting the process, but then also, thank God nobody close to me passed away. But it's like all my healthy friends are fine. Did they get the flu? Maybe, yeah, but like, and so that I never got the vaccine, and I always thought it was a money play. Yeah. And when you have, when you have mass hysteria, people are more prone to do the thing that the authority figures are telling you to do. to help solve that issue.
Yeah.
But that's just my take, y'all. If you got the vaccine, we still love you. But
Listen, there's nothing wrong with it. But, again, problem, reaction, solution. When you're in a capitalist society, it only makes sense for you to create a problem already sitting on a solution, see the reaction of the problem, and then come with the solution. How profitable would you be if you operated from that paradigm?
I mean, billions of dollars, trillions of dollars.
And we saw it. So when you saw, for me, I knew from the beginning what it was. But there were things along the way. I'm like, wait a minute, you didn't hear that? No government official was mandated. No one in the government was mandated to take the vaccine. So we're talking about a top-down approach, right? They weren't mandated. I don't care what they showed, silly needles going in arms and stuff like that. I'm not believing that.
Right.
Once it's what they say. So no government official was mandated to take the vaccine, but then they started to mandate jobs, employers to make their employees take it. Then I'm talking to people. I'm like, but don't you work from home? Everyone's working from home. So who's affecting who at this point now in a workplace environment? To not even go back to work. Yeah, no one's even been back to the office yet. So I commend the ones who stood on not taking it, that lost their jobs, because you did the right thing. And some of them are being paid handsomely for sure. But some of them might also, we don't know what they went through during that time of not being able to make money. It was when they cut your ability off to, one, entertain yourself, and two, to effectively make money for your family. That's when it became a real problem.
And you believe
they'll do it again. They'll do it again.
And now, let's say they do it again. You think that this DeSci space will help solve at least the ability to allow people to decipher a lot faster what is better for them and what is not?
Well, I think the DeSci space, what it'll do is it'll start to put all the scientific information on paper. So not only, it's not even so much for us as consumers, because most people probably can't even read that or have the bandwidth or time to read anything past like 30 seconds, right? So they've already conditioned us to just have short attention spans. What it does is, so if you have the right government officials in place and they're actually truly working for people, they can read the paperwork for themselves. You understand? And then they can make an informed decision based on the public. But when you have a government that's based on money, because it takes money to win an election, right? So who's actually paying? How much do you donate to election? We don't, right? So that means someone is assisting this person to getting their message out. So if it costs, I think the average is under $200,000 per vote to gain your vote, that's how much they're spending, whether it be radio ads, TV, radio, now it's podcast, whatever the case is. So that means someone is controlling the candidates. So when you have an axe, it's like, I'm in real estate, and your family's in real estate too. Think about it. When you're building new construction and stuff like that, how excessive is it when it comes down to like insulation and material and stuff like that now? Now you're like at an R90, and it's like, yo, come on, guys. So that's a play for someone who's invested in the insulation game to say, you know what? The wealthy people have lobbyists. This is how they create wealth, through politics. And this is how politicians make wealth, through lobbyists. So once we have a system like that, we're always going to have an imbalanced system. Remember, I told you, if you don't play the business game in America, you'll just always be a product. So that's what's happening right now. We don't play the political game. That's why you saw there's how many pro crypto candidates this year?
A lot.
They played the money game, right? Did you see the Dateline crypto piece that they did?
I did not talk about it.
It was literally a kill story. We were all waiting for it. We're like, oh man, they got Brad Garlinghouse on there. He was the CEO of Ripple. Finally going to go to the mainstream. They shitted on him. It was basically like a kill story. Oh yeah, so you guys basically just bought politicians, and he's like, what are you talking about? That wasn't even supposed to be the premise of it, but that's where they took it. But they were right. They got together. Usually it's APAC. They got together and they put money together and they backed politicians. And not only did they back politicians, but they taught them the information of crypto and why it's important. Now that politician could have said yay or nay, right? They didn't have to take it. Those politicians effectively had more money and they won those seats. That's why we have over 260 Congress members. We have a pro-crypto president. We have a pro-crypto vice president. We're getting rid of the old regime. And this is now you start to see the sentiment of people are now what? Are they trusting crypto more that Donald Trump is coming in with this administration or less?
More.
More. But the Biden administration, were they pro crypto or were they against it? They were against it. It's clear as day. You can answer it. It was the truth. He said, this is, this is what, but listen, we were both in this category because if you invest in crypto, they said what? You're doing, undercover things. It's for the black market.
Right.
So
Things that were 15 years ago when it first started.
When it first started, yeah, Mt. Gox and all that for sure. But again, the US dollar is tied to everything that they're talking about too. Right. So again, people's perceptions on the outside, all the people that aren't invested, they weren't invested because they didn't trust it. Every bad article that they could put out on crypto, they put it out. But I taught my students about Vechain while all that stuff was going on. I said, listen, put earmuffs on. That's what they do. Do you know that Warren Buffett bet against Yahoo? He bet against Amazon, Google, and Apple.
He was wrong 3 big times.
No, he's wrong every time in tech, and he'll tell you that. You know why he's wrong? Because he's just old and he's just dated in the way that he thinks. I'm not saying that he's not bright, but if I went up against Warren Buffett, he doesn't take the time. He just really plays ignorant at the end of the day, and he sticks to his fundamentals, which is his God-given right. But if I sit here now and I tell you that they used to tell me, oh, this guy's the dumbest guy. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's the smartest guy. I have guys in finance that are calling me now. They're like, Steve, I want to apologize to you. And I'm like, you just didn't take the time out, right? You just kept listening to what the emails were saying at your job. Do not trade cryptocurrency. Do not, right? They were showing me these emails from their companies. And now all of a sudden they're like, yo, look at this stuff right here. Look at this right here. I have so much information coming out of the financial world right now. I'm like, this information has been around. This stuff, all the big guys have been involved in this. The problem with billionaires is, not the problem, but a billionaire will never give you information on something that they're not making money on already. Right? So this is why the great thing about the internet is you could always go back and find sound bites. Larry Fink said, oh man, Bitcoin is for thieves and it's for illicit activity. And it's like, okay, it's all good now. It's all good now that you're able to make money on it. That's where we're at. And it's so sad to me because I tried to liberate as many people as possible. How many millionaires do you know right now in cryptocurrency who have zero financial literacy backgrounds? Or guys with $100,000 or $50,000 or even $10K that just placed a bet on something, whether they knew what they were doing or not, through crypto.
Oh, at this particular time?
This particular time right now.
I know more than I did a year ago.
Right. And now if I said, how about 10 years ago? Way more, right?
Way more. Nobody was into it 10 years ago. I first heard about cryptocurrency in 2015. I watched a movie called Dope, and it made me understand the psychological, the utility behind, moving, without government moving, on your own accord. And I made my first $40 ever trading cryptocurrency in 2017 in my parents' house. I was running around the house, not knowing what to do because I saw a blue screen. And then, that's when I made my first, withdrawal in crypto. So, so that's what that was. And I'm excited about cryptocurrency for sure. And I just want people I want to bring people like you on because, there's people who say Bitcoin is a thing. There's people who say Bitcoin is just the distraction. It's a thing for a certain type of, store value, which I believe it is store value, which you believe it is store value. But when it comes to transacting and utility, there's other things out there that have a better use case. And so just bringing people aware, but then also my goal of bringing people like you on, and like, for example, I got Mike on, or, I can name 10 guys, who, or 10 people who have different use cases for cryptocurrency. We want to make sure that people understand that it's a big enough world where you can you can capture what you want to do in it and really get the benefit from it and not miss out on it, but then also understand the risk of it, because I've lost a lot of money in crypto. 2 years ago, I lost $125,000 in a crypto program that we thought was real. We thought was legit. Bank runs happen, and those things happen. And, well, guess what? That was a learning experience for me. And then from that moment, I was like, man, I got to educate people more on what to do and what not to do. Because somebody like me can And I don't consider myself an expert, but I consider myself well versed. For me not to take the right precautions I needed to do, I know there's people out there that have no clue what they're doing that are just getting burned left and right. And so this is the
Yeah.
point of like to secure your future podcast to where, we could bring people like yourself on. So, but I just want to give you your flowers really quick, and
But
to say
one last thing with the crypto, so people
I'm
don't
not
still get
finished yet. I'm not ending. I'm just giving you your
Oh, okay.
flowers. Yeah.
Oh man, I'll take those flowers. What kind of
Yeah, we just
roses?
want to give you your flowers, man. And obviously follow him on Instagram. What's your Instagram again?
Marketing_guru.
Marketing.
GURU. And listen, the guru thing is a little whatever, but this was like way before some of you guys were even like allowed to get on the internet. Like
No, it's all good. It's all good. Hey,
so
man.
it's not this new guru thing, and it's attached to something a little crazy, but it's marketing_guru.
Yeah, so I encourage people to follow you, to listen to this, run this back. This is one of the longest episodes that I've done, and it's really because I'm genuinely interested in the conversation. So, and I know if I'm interested, people are interested. So I just want to give you your flowers, before we continue. But the floor is yours again. Let's keep it going.
So listen, cryptocurrency, and I think it's the currency part that throws people off. I simplify it. They're just tech companies. That's it. They're put here to put a layer of technology on top of the internet, and it's going to do one or two things to businesses. It's either going to enhance the way you do business, or it's just going to destroy it. Like, we don't need that. Cryptocurrency and blockchain technology is also going to do one thing that's pivotal. It's going to remove the middleman and friction from transactions, right? Today, you had to call me. We were making the schedule back and forth, right? But we were working hand in hand. Imagine you had to go through two of my handlers to get to me. Then I had to work on two of your handlers to get to you.
We would never get to.
We had a little bit of friction, but that's just timing, and then just
right.
things were happening personally for me, not on your end, on my end. So once you remove a middleman from a transaction, and I tell guys, even stock guys, I'm like, you're going to love cryptocurrency, because when blockchain technology sits on top of the stock market, you're going to be able to transact 24/7. Stock guys will love that. And the minute you win your trade settles instantly, right? So that system that's set up for these middlemen, they just take fees from it. God knows what they do with our money when it's being held. So the wealthiest guys in the world, they love the premise of it. What they were waiting for was they were waiting for the rules and regulations in America to say it's okay. That's why you're going to see the greatest wealth transfer within the first 100 days of Trump's administration. Once they can get the proper stablecoin rules together, right? And they knew that it was XRP and Ripple that was going to effectively change the financial world. That's why they were tied up. You bring the elephant in the room. The problem was, if you let these guys come off too fast, the banks and institutions didn't really have time to catch up with the technology right now. So you're going to see a lot of banks that are going to just shutter. They're going to close down. What the United States government wants to do in order to stay in power is, once you can start to limit banks from, like, I don't know how many tens of thousands of banks that we have in this country, it's going to start to cut down to probably 10 major banks. Currently, right now, 8 major banks in the United States have 58% of all deposits. See, we're moving towards one centralized banking system. By next week, they're saying that 5 banks are going to start to custody Bitcoin. That means you're going to be able to purchase now cryptocurrency through banks. Once your banks are
so bad,
it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And for me, I'm not going to, there's nothing I can do to stop it. All I could do is make sure I'm invested properly. And when I get my bread, and I'm okay with banks, because if a bank is going to offer custody services and they're going to give me insurance, I don't mind taking a DeFi product out from JP Morgan Chase. If the stipulations are there and you're going to insure it, I'm ready to play ball, because I got bags. But I want everybody else to be involved in this. So it's the first time in history that we were able to learn a financial literacy language before it was taught to us. Because when they teach it to you, they won't teach you the right way. So that's why I tell you, go deeper, Amari, go deeper than Bitcoin, right? Keep investing in Bitcoin. I'm not telling you invest in other things. I'm just telling you to go deeper. You're a sports guy, right? There's a, I won't call out the ticker because I got to check on the project and I don't want you guys pushing it too much. So there's a company that, I'll tell you behind the scenes though.
Yeah.
All right. There's a company that has a sports product that's tied to all sports, MMA, boxing, things like that. So what they did was they added a layer of artificial intelligence, and this is happening right now, over the actual event. They can tell what over 98% accuracy every punch that lands. This is the AI. Every punch that lands, the
Wow.
velocity of the punch. So what they're going to do with that information is they're going to allow peer-to-peer betting. So now in real time, we don't have to worry about the refs because we know how great those refs are in every sporting event, right? Even if your boxer hands down one, I've seen wild stuff happen. Now you're going to set up this whole world of interactive betting between peer-to-peer to know, like now we can bet in between each round. So many data points. How many punches are going to be thrown? How many left-hand punches versus right-hand punches? How many kicks? Everything. So if you think that betting is crazy now, just wait until you start to put those layers on. That particular company now, once people start to use it, what do you think that price of that situation is once they start to lock in licensing deals with Major League Baseball, NBA? Because that's what's going to put the eyes on it. So it only makes sense for those guys to do it because once you have people tied into the third or second or third screen, that means there's more eyes and viewership watching what? The sporting event.
Right.
That means that the sporting event has what now? More eyes on it. That means they can get more money from their who? Their sponsors. Money is going to start moving at the speed of light. So if you think being a millionaire is like the key to success in the United States, I'm going to tell you that being a millionaire is just going to be another thing. It's like having another $1,000 is kind of laying around somewhere. Because that's how much this thing is going to be elevated for. 11 wallets of people I know equated to over $81 million. And this is before this last pump right here. That's guys who have zero to no financial literacy that just took a bet on cryptocurrency and they went in.
Wow.
And this was just when Trump won his election. So that was just the Trump effect, right? Every price you're seeing now is a look into the future price action of things. We know that. Do you believe that this administration is not going to create rules and regulations around it?
Explain. So do I
Biden,
think they're not going to create rules
no,
around
I'm saying if Trump comes in office, do you think they're going to say, "Oh, nah, cryptocurrency, now we're not accepting that. It's crock of shit"? No, right?
No, they're not.
We know
They're
that
going to be pro. They're going to be more pro
they're
cryptocurrency.
right.
Currency.
The guy replacing the head of the SEC, Gary Gensler, we know that he's pro crypto. We know the crypto czars. We know everybody. Listen, these guys, I know some of their wallet addresses are already being tracked from before they even got the position. You understand? So we know that this party is about to start. That's all we were waiting for was regulations. Because when regulations come in, guess what happens? I tell people, listen, when the lights go off, because we're going to have a Black Swan event. That's when everything that you think can go wrong will go wrong. Financial markets are going to be in despair. They're going to try to liquidate as much people as possible out of things. And then the minute the lights come back on again, you're going to see that institutional money just drive right into it. What do you think every pension fund is going to go? Into a Bitcoin reserve, right? Every city and state is setting up Bitcoin reserves right now.
So how can we avoid that?
You can't avoid the Black Swan event.
How do you avoid that, the Black Swan event? How do you capitalize on knowing that a Black Swan event is going to happen? Like, how do you come out like the movie The Big Short? How do you become the people, the four guys who were shorting the market before the market shorted in 08? How do we become those people?
That one is easier because that data was open, right? The housing market data was open. Okay. If you had enough insight and know, you kind of knew it. So I got caught up in that thing too, because we ended up catching a mortgage at the time with no jobs. Right. So when you could look at the data to see how many applications or credit rating borrowers there are, you kind of know that they're going to fuck up. Right. They're not going to be able to afford it. So these were just bad loan products that were put out to push an industry. I'll give you another example of it. It's happening right now in California. So when people see the fires in California, right, I'm not going to get into who did it or whatever, right? We're just going to get into the hardcore numbers. If you ever want to know the truth, you just follow the money, right? So when they talked about the insurance company, State Farm being one of them, that dropped the customers from fire insurance, here's the reason they did it. There was already fires happening in those areas. Naturally, this happens all the time there, right? There was a guy on Joe Rogan a couple of years ago that he said it. Joe Rogan just asked the right questions. The guy said there's going to be a catastrophe one day where that one fire with the right wind is going to burn all the California all the way down to the water. This was known by everybody, even the insurance companies. So what the insurance companies went with the state to do, they said, listen, we have to raise the rates in order to be able to pay out all these claims. You know what the state of California said? No, because if you raise the rates, it's going to affect the property value in our state, which is going to then bring down the values of California real estate. And you know what the insurance companies did? What they had within their right mind to do, and drop people because of it.
Or didn't renew.
They didn't renew them, but we knew people who paid the insurance and they were paying 3 times the rate of what they paid prior. And you know, real estate, if you have to pay that much on insurance, your value of your property, you can't sell it for that high because it won't make mathematical sense.
When you look at insurance, there's now a stat that is going around, and I don't have the proper source here. Maybe I can like ChatGPT real quick, but pretty much what it's saying is that there are some people now who are paying more in insurances than they are in their mortgage.
I could believe it.
That is crazy.
When you think of fire insurance and flood insurance, and it's just insurance, period, in the last few years.
So Florida is Florida's insurance rates are some of the most expensive in the world because of just floods and good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to know what you're doing when you get inside of this game. Again, it leads right back to one thing: knowledge. Knowledge is the one thing that would liberate you. Most people would be driven by greed before knowledge first, right? Because greed tells me that I can make $20 million buying meme coins, right? Knowledge could tell me that the odds are low. I'll try a little bit here and there because I have some money laying around, but I'm not going to make it a thing of mine to keep pushing this narrative that Steve's going to keep investing in me. I probably spent like 20 Solanas last year just trying to catch a meme coin, but I was trying to catch a meme coin, right? When you lost that 125, I can guarantee you is right around crypto arbitrage. Keep getting people in. The minute you stop getting new money inside of those projects, that was going to end. The reason that you didn't know that is because you didn't ask the right questions coming into it.
You know, the funny part. You know, the funny part is I knew it. I knew it, but
greed.
The project that I wouldn't, for me, it wasn't greed, but usually it is though. But this time it happened because the project was sustainable even after FTX fell.
Okay.
Yeah. If it's sustainable up until this point, now we may have something. But then eventually it didn't work out that way.
And we knew the Sam Bankman thing. We never pushed that narrative because what I did was what Champ and I do is we peel the onion back a little bit more. So when you listen to like 11,000% APY, I'm like, impossible. 10,000 AP. I'm like, come on, guys. I used to time some of those things. I used to make 2,000, 3,000. And then there's times where you just don't make anything. I don't put heavy money into those things like that. If you can time it and you can get out, they'll let you out. But that means new money has to be coming in too. This is where you get on a referral-based program. Anytime you see a referral-based program, the projects I invest in, they don't market through Twitter. They don't come to me and say, yo, you know how many crypto companies are in my inbox? Like, Steve, can you show my project? I'm like, yo, send me the white paper. I say no to everything.
And why do you say no to everything for when people ask you to help promote their project?
Because it's all bullshit. None of it makes sense right now. And the masses aren't ready for mass adoption yet. Even if you have the goodest intention in mind, all you're looking for is new liquidity. Right. It's not going to be able to sustain. I use Helium Mobile right now, and that's one of the best companies because I can see the business model. It's a $20 a month phone. Right behind me, right there, are antennas that I'm using, and I'm giving off signal with Helium Mobile.
Helium Mobile, that's the Asian company, right?
No, they're not Asian. They have a 6-year partnership with T-Mobile.
So hold on. Helium Mobile is a company. I was at an event. This is maybe like 2.5 years ago.
They're big in Miami. That's one of their, that was their first base was set up in Miami. So you have a $5 play in Miami when they first came out. So that industry is called DPIN. Remember we talked about D?
You're right.
DPIN, that's Decentralized Physical Infrastructure Network. That's where people are able to invest in hardware, give off signal. And I saw this coming a long time ago. So the company that first started was Helium, right? Helium was one of the first hardware infrastructure companies, and they created literally a map over the world with signal that they got through people and devices, home devices. I knew it was genius because I put my thinking hat on. I said, let me research the telecommunication industry. And I realized that in order to even have a cell phone company, you need cell phone towers. Those things cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to erect. On top of that, you have to maintain them and maintenance them. And then you have to pay the companies to lease the space to sit on top of these big ass buildings, right? This is how you catch signal. That's the business. Now, when you go peer to peer and you allow small devices to create big networks, in essence, you did the same thing. You just involve people because people cover large areas. Welcome to DeepIn. That's another narrative you should be investing in. I have a DeepIn product in my car right now from a company called Dymo. And I only gave this one because I'm still following it. So it plugs into my OBS. That's the, when you go get your check engine light check, they plug that in and it gives you a reading. It plugs right into that. So it's not only reading my car, it's giving me my gas efficiency, but it has an open source network and it's allowing people to create product around it for people who have the device in their car. Now listen to this idea, and anybody listening to this can have it. What if you set up something with mechanics to say that every time a check engine light goes off, you register your home mechanic with your device on your app, and then I'm going to give you 3-4 mechanics in your area. So the minute your device goes off, they diagnose it automatically for you. All your mechanics get it in real time. They come back with a price, and then it also gets sent to a part company. Then that part could be sent to them automatically. And then by the time we get autonomous cars that drive themselves, bro, your car is at the dealership on its way back because it was fixed already. That's the future of blockchain technology. For as long as you keep thinking that it's Bitcoin, you're going to miss the immense opportunity in the projects that I'm naming right now. Nobody can do what I do, and nobody can do what Champ does at Skyton Academy. Nobody. I promise you that. I can go project for project with anybody in the world about cryptocurrency. And I'm not talking about the technical part. I'm talking about the part that's easy for people to understand. There shouldn't be a time in history in the next 5 to 10 years that you don't make money talking, walking, breathing, blinking, if you position yourself correctly with these projects right now. Because we went from a decentralized internet to a centralized internet. Because remember, when the internet first came out, there's no ownership of it. Now, doesn't it feel like somebody owns the internet? Right? The metas, the X's, if you say something, you're off. You're this. You can't even, there's nothing you can do. We're making the same mistakes in cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency was set up to where we don't have to be a product of the internet anymore. If you're not paying for the product, you are the product. How much do you pay for Instagram? Not if you have the paid business account. I'm just saying in general, as a regular user, all of these apps are free. What's the biggest commodity in the world right now outside of time?
Data.
And they monetize it. How much do they pay you back for your data? Nothing. At minimum, we should make $60,000 to $80,000 a year based on the amount of times that they turn around and sell us something with our data.
100%.
Cryptocurrency and blockchain technology changes that. That's why you're starting to see all the, we can monetize our data now. We can monetize our content. You're starting to see that a little bit. But the real the real companies are being built out right now. So Meta and them know that there's decentralized internet companies coming out right now.
Right.
DESO, DESO, that's a big one. I would tell everybody, listen, let's quit Instagram. Let's go over to DESO.
There's a big one right now going around. It's called fan base, that people are investing in, and they're because one, they allow you to monetize your following, but then also you can get equity in the company, unlike an Instagram.
Yeah. I mean, he's great. It's a great product. No problem. It's a little difficult for me to navigate. But it's not a decentralized product.
Right. And we're talking about crypto here.
We're talking about crypto. If he adds a decentralized product, my brother, if you catch wind of this interview, hit me in my DM. I got some ideas for you. You have to innovate in order to stay relevant. I'm sorry. So if you don't understand crypto, it's like saying that, I don't care about money in the future.